Cal Newport writes about deep work and shallow work, right? And Nia writes about distractions a lot. It takes you 15 to 25 minutes to get into that state. It's not something where you press a button. And if you get disturbed while you're in it, it takes you about that same amount of time to get back into it. So if you are a leader or you're an individual contributor and you recognize that those great things come out of longer periods of time than just, well, in between this Zoom and the next Zoom, I have 38 minutes, I'll go do something meaningful. No, you're probably not. The things that you can do that move your life forward or move your team forward, you really need to block out like 2 to 3 hours. And one of the things we do in my company is from 9 to noon in the morning, there's an unwritten rule that we just don't book meetings with each other. We don't expect each other to be super responsive. Like even in Suka, my platform, when you start your session, it marks your Slack in a way so that people know, oh, he's not going to get back to me right now. And it says, I'm in a focus session. I'll get back to you when I'm done. So there's no pressure on like, I need to respond to all my Slacks. I need to respond to all my things. And so if you can create that culture in your organization, if you're a team leader and say, hey, you know what, let's have this time. When does it work best for everyone? And at that time, we will do the things where someone's going to walk into the staff meeting and go, oh, by the way, I built this thing. And everyone else goes, we should do that. Like that changes the future of our company. That's an amazing idea. As opposed to everyone turns in their TPS reports and, returns their emails, which doesn't really move your company forward. It's the same thing if you're an entrepreneur. It's how do you do that thing where it's like everyone looks up and goes, who built this? And it's free. You don't need anything. You need a calendar.
Yeah. I think that's, that's another big challenge we have in organizations, right? It's just the leadership part, the management part, that's definitely lacking. And I think, again, being in a society, at least in America, it's not like that in other parts of the world, but, in America, it's a very much busy, and it's almost like counterproductive to just have that focus moment. And I think we don't give it enough credit that it just, that mindfulness, even the 30 minutes of mindfulness is actually more productive. And again, that's something personally I'm learning the hard way, is that
so true.
It's it makes me better, and I see this quite a bit with people who are, very successful, that also they incorporate that. And if they're able to then create space for their teams to be able to do that, whatever that looks like for their teams, just having that time, I think, is important. But again, it comes from the top. It's very difficult to have that.
Completely agreed. Yes, you have to create that environment where it's like that, which also is about, and I've worked in SF, I've worked in film, I have not worked in banking, and banking also has this culture in New York of just like, it's a badge of honor to be like, I worked until 3 a.m. And, it's just like, oh my God, you're such a great worker. You're like, when you break out of that mentality and you go, this thing that you did, it changed the course of our company. I honestly don't care if you did it until 3 a.m. or if you did it for 15 minutes at the beach. I don't care. You have to move into this mentality of work is the effect. It's not the hours. It's not the place, it is the effect. And if someone can do that on your team, wow, you'd be an idiot not to encourage that. What are the conditions that allow you to do that thing? Oh, I need from 9 to noon in the morning to be quiet. I'll give you an example from film. There's a famous screenwriter, Ron Bass. He has written the movies that you get Julia Roberts and Redford and stuff to be in, right? He writes amazing movies. He doesn't talk to his family in the morning. He gets up like 5-ish in the morning. He's an attorney. He was an attorney who became a screenwriter. And when he's developing his career, he realized that he needed that time. So he told the kids, like, I'm not going to ask you about your cereal. I'm not going to make pancakes. I'm not going to make sure you did your homework. Just daddy needs time until 9 a.m. And they're like, why? He said, well, I realized I can't write dialogue after I've had conversations with you. When I wake up, it's the only time I can hear my characters speaking. So I need that time without even saying good morning to you so I can go write that dialogue. Now, this is a guy who writes the dialogue that Julia Roberts type people read and go, I will be in this movie. I mean, they get the best scripts offered to them. Ron was famous for this, but he knew his chronotype. He's an early morning person, and he knew how to create the conditions precedent for him to write those movies, which is, it seems weird, but I just can't even say hi to you. Because then I can't hear Julia talking. I can't hear Robert Redford's voice in my head and how they'd say it. And that is, again, as a great leader, is you grow into a leader that says, I want to lead teams to greatness, as opposed to I want to manage how many hours they work. You start to develop that thing of like, oh, with Elena, she needs this time to go do the thing. Watch what happens when I let her do that. And you have to hire well. You can't hire people you don't trust, because then you're like, well, is she at the beach? What's she doing? Is she napping? If you think that it's a hiring problem, it's not really a productivity problem.
Yeah, it's also a challenge with a lot of the return to work in office. And I think they, again, going back to just understanding who is it how does that particular individual work best? And you know very well, for engineers, a lot of engineers, they actually need that focus time. You cannot have them in an office where people are, because they need that flow state more than anybody else. And then you just there.
Writers too. You can write code, you can write prose. But you're right. It's hard to write it 15 minutes at a time.
Yes, and then when you're in the office, this whole, actually they would work better at home. You should just keep those people on their own at home, because otherwise people are just going to come and interrupt, and they're not productive as they could be.
Completely agreed. I think one of the things that's interesting about the pandemic was the pendulum swung very far towards, oh, we can't be around each other, we have to be at home, right? And now the pendulum is swinging back toward the middle. The way I think of it is almost like if you were a leader before, maybe on your color palette, you had a lot of like reds and yellows, and you could paint suns, you could paint, that sort of thing. And then the pandemic was suddenly like, oh, there's this whole other color of how you work from home. I have a blue now. So you can paint lakes, you can paint rivers or skies, right? So now suddenly you have a broader palette to paint from. So like you said, you can consciously choose and say, you know what, Elena, I know for you to code really well, you need like 3 days a week where you're home. Do that. Like, awesome. But I also know, like, when we're going to have that brainstorm around how we're going to do this, there's something magical about being in the room together, the 5 of us, and like spitballing and laughing and having like the bad ideas that turn into the good ideas. And it's just not the same. Like, I'll tell you this personally, I've never had to create a brainstorm on Zoom or Google Meet or Teams that has any of the energy of being in the room when you're like, I don't know, well, how does he, if this is not good, how does he kill the dragon? Because he's got the arrow and he has a sword, and then someone acts out something, and it's just like that energy of like, oh my God, you're right, it should be this. Zoom, not that.
No, it's very difficult to replace that in-person energy, whatever it is. I don't know what it is, but
so you just have more options. As a leader, you have more options to be like, this is an in-person thing, let's all get together. Oh, you need a flow state? Go.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on just AI and how that's going to, people are saying it's going to make us more productive, or like, is it? I have my thoughts about it, but I'm curious, like, for somebody who's in a productivity and focus space and coming from tech and
okay. So, yes, I love to speak in metaphors and stories. So I will give you a metaphor. The way I think about it, because we integrate LLM into our tool, right, is I think that if you go to Usain Bolt and you say, hey man, I made this robot that runs faster than you do, we're going to have it run, and you can sit here with me and watch it, and people in the stands are going to watch it. It would suck for Usain Bolt. It would suck for the spectators, right? Uninteresting. But if you go to Usain and say, hey, guess what? With that robot, we helped make a show that fits your toes better. So like you said, you can consciously choose and say, you know what, Elena, I know for you to code really well, you need like 3 days a week where you're home. Do that. Like, awesome. But I also know, like, when we're going to have that brainstorm around how we're going to do this, there's something magical about being in the room together, the 5 of us, and like spitballing and laughing and having like the bad ideas that turn into the good ideas. And it's just not the same. Like, I'll tell you this personally, I've never had to create a brainstorm on Zoom or Google Meet or Teams that has any of the energy of being in the room when you're like, I don't know, well, how does he, if this is not good, how does he kill the dragon? Because he's got the arrow and he has a sword, and then someone acts out something, and it's just like that energy of like, oh my God, you're right, it should be this. Zoom, not that.
No, it's very difficult to replace that in-person energy, whatever it is. I don't know what it